This is Dave Murphy with Split Software, and in this video we'll be talking about environment level permissions. There are two primary ways that you can restrict editing in environments. One is simply restricting who can edit by choosing groups and or users who by default have the ability to edit splits and segments. And then you can still provide object level permissions for individual users to edit individual objects. The second primary way to look at it is through approvals. Now, you could set it so that a user only needs to choose an approver if they want a second pair of eyes. You can also set it up so that a user must choose an approver, or a user must choose an approver and it must be from a restricted set of potential approvers. For approvals, it's really been set up to support compliance requirements. And you have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can manage those approvals. For example, you may have a production support team who are the only ones who can approve changes that go into production. Anybody can make a change, but the support team must approve them. Or managers who are the only ones who can approve changes made by members of their team. In any case, there are four status values for approval flows. One for the user is to be able to request it. Secondly, withdraw it. And as an approver, you can either publish or reject a suggestion. Let's take a look at what it looks like in the product. In this particular workspace, we have three environments: a staging environment where anyone can edit, and then two production environments that have been restricted. In the staging environment, we simply say that anyone can edit. Pretty straightforward. In the restricted environment, we're saying that only administrators, PMs, and engineering managers can edit by default. You can, of course, have editing capabilities for individual objects for individual users or groups. And then in the approvals environment, we're saying that we must require approvals for changes, but let the submitter choose their approver. Now, we can also say, let's restrict who can approve. And in this case, we might say only the team managers are the people who can approve. So we'll set up for team manager 1 and team manager 2, but we still want to allow kills without approvals in case we have an issue with something we've rolled out. So let's save this, and now we've got our three environments set up. In this particular example, I'll be team manager 1, and we also have another user here who is an individual contributor on team 1, and we'll create the initial split. So this can be called environment level. We'll use our traffic type. This is a back-end split, and this is demo of approvals and restrictions. Okay, we've created our split, and now in staging we can add rules directly. If we were in product approvals, we would require approvals to add them because we're the individual contributor, and in the restricted environment we can't do anything. We can only view whatever the current state of this particular split is. Let's go to staging and add rules. So I can add a whitelist, for example, just to get something in there, put in an ID, and then we'll save the changes. At this point, because we're in the staging environment, I can just put in title and some comments if I wanted to, and I could add an approver if I wanted to get a second pair of eyes on this particular change. But for now, we'll just confirm it. So we've made our changes in the staging environment for this particular user. Now, if I wanted to promote it, I can't promote it to the restricted environment at this point. So I'm going to flip back over to this particular user. And let me refresh my screen so that the split shows up. And we've got our little split available to us. And it's got the individual whitelisted user here. So at this point, I can edit it because I have rights in this particular environment, and I can actually, if was requested by the training user, I can move it to from the staging environment to the restricted environment, and then save changes because I have those rights. So really, the individual contributor has two options. One is to ask if they want any changes to be made, to ask the team manager to make those changes, or the team manager can come in and make a change where they say this particular user is now has edit rights. So as that user, the user can edit because they've been added to the list of people who are approved to edit this particular object even though it's in a restricted environment. But that means that you have to, for every object that goes into this restricted product environment, either have someone who has those rights edit it or allow the user to edit it on an object-by-object basis, providing permissions. So let's take a look at going into the staging environment and then promoting it up to product approvals. In this case, we can do it, but approvals are required. Now, I can pull it from either of these two environments. Let's just pull it from staging. So I have now added this to staging, but instead of a save button, it says submit for approval. So let's do that. And in this case, I could say approve me, and we'll see that the approvers are pre-configured for us. If we hadn't restricted it, then the approvers would be at my discretion. I'll confirm this, and the change has been submitted for approval. Now the targeting rules have been added, but nothing really shows up here yet for this user because nothing has been approved. If I go back here and look at my work, we'll see that a new approval request has been sent to me, and I can view that approval request, which is requesting to move it into that environment. Approve me please. I can approve the changes and now confirm that. So that has moved. It's given the flexibility for any user to move into the production environment, but still retain the ability for specific people to determine whether or not it's going to be approved. So now when I look at it in the targeting, in the splits, we can see that it's in the product restricted environment and in the product approvals environment. And as you would expect, I can come back here, and we'll just click this on and off so we can see it now. It's in the product approvals environment, or the production approvals environment. I could add something else and then submit for approval once again, ask for confirmation once again, and the same process goes forward. The important point is that I can make the changes myself without asking for permission, but it still must be approved. A couple things to note. There are some validation rules when you change environment level permissions. So when you set up, for example, restrict who can edit in an existing environment, existing per split, individual split segment permissions will be deleted, and any pending approvals will be rejected. So if you change from approval to restrictions, then those approvals will be rejected. If you're setting it to require approvals, let submitters choose approvals, existing per split segment permissions will be deleted. And when setting required approvals and restrict who can approve, again, existing per split segment and permissions will be deleted, and all pending approvals will be rejected, so they'd have to be resubmitted. Just something for you to know. And as always, if you have any additional questions about environment level permissions, you can simply go to help.split.io to get additional information. Thanks.